Hey guys, it's Phil doing a quick video. Well, I always say a quick video, it's never a quick video. I'm doing a video and I'm trying to answer some more questions. So today I'm gonna do a video about my schedule. So I fly commercial, but I fly cargo. I don't fly passengers anymore. The company I work for, like I said, subcontracts for DHL, the military, and Amazon Prime. All right. So our schedule's probably a little bit different than your typical commercial passenger airliner. So we've got three types of schedules, right? For us, we have what we call open reserve. Open reserve, basically, you're on call. When you're on call, you're going to be typically given a block time. It's going to be a 12-hour block. And during that time, the company can call you and assign you to pretty much any run that they need fulfilled. Most people end up on open time at first and bid for whatever schedule they want. Sometimes if you don't get the schedule you want, you might get stuck on open time. You know, the thing about open time is, yeah, your schedule's not your own. You're pretty much open for whatever they want you to do. But for us, they're pretty lenient on how they do open time. So for example, you know, if you have set days you would like to be off and those open and that open time and you're on open time, 90% of the time they'll give you those days off. I've had plenty of days, like I had when I was on open time the first 2 months that I worked for this company. I literally was like, hey, can I get these 3 days off because it was my birthday coming up? And they gave me the entire week off. You know, it could be easily that, you know, they just didn't need as much manpower as they had, but they were pretty cool about being very accommodating. Whatchamacallit, pretty easy at notifying, at accommodating any early notifications of requesting specific days off and stuff like that. So that's open time. The next thing we have is hard reserve. So you can bid for a hard reserve line, which basically says that you want specific days off or you want to work these specific days, but your schedule is still dictated by the company. Now, for me, I held a hard reserve line for the subsequent months in which I could not hold a specific line, but I could hold specific days to be on call. And so with those specific days on call, yeah, I'm still at the mercy of the company to call me at specific times and have me work at specific times. But there were a set number of days that were scheduled ahead that I had off. Now, this month and last month were the first months I was able to hold an actual line. And so a line is, you know, just simply you have scheduled days and scheduled flights that you will know and do ahead of schedule. And some of those will include reserve days in which you can be called for anything. But most of the time, what you're gonna have is you're gonna have a set number of days in which you know exactly what flight you're doing on that day, where you'll be, what days you'll have off. Like my line right now is basically a combination line. So I have it's 2 months. I have 1 month in which I work 12 days on a specific line, flying specific places on specific days. And then the next month, I actually have a reserve in which we call hot reserve. And so basically, I'll be sitting at the hotel, we go pre-trip the plane, and then we're available to pick up any extra lines. Now, the cool thing about being on hot reserve is you get a minimum for that day. You get to get per diem, so you're not sitting at home. You know, you're not getting per diem. Where open reserve, you're just at home and you're not getting anything unless you fly other than your minimum pay. Where hot reserve, you get a minimum pay, you get incentives if you get called at the last minute, you get a shorter block of time that they can call you. Typically for us, for hot reserve, they'll put you up in a hotel and you're just ready for that. If they call you at the last minute, you get a set amount of hours guaranteed that you get paid on top of whatever that flight is. So I have a hot reserve next month of 14 days in Seattle. So I'll be sitting in Seattle on call for a specific time. My call time is from 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. So during that time, they can call me to go fly. Outside of that time, if they call me within the last, I think it's like 2 hours, then it goes over and I get paid for that time plus an additional hours for that flight. And it's pretty cool because, you know, a lot of times, if depending on the time, you might be sitting around and not get called. You might get some sporadic flights that are short flights. But the cool thing for us is with hot reserve, you have to be back to fulfill that hot reserve. So if they send you out, you typically won't be sent out for long, multiple day trips. You'll typically be sent out on a flight where you're gonna go out and then come back so you can be on hot reserve. For example, if I was just on reserve, I could be, you know, let's say I'm in reserve in Ontario. I could be sent out to do Ontario to Cincinnati, Cincinnati to, you know, Baltimore, and then be out for as many days as I'm on reserve and never go back to Ontario. But if I'm on hot reserve for San Bernardino, Ontario, if I get flown out to Cincinnati, they have to get me back to Ontario to be on hot reserve the next day, theoretically. Does it always happen that way? No, not really. Some days they'll send us out for a day or two and then bring us back. It kind of pisses Amazon off, but whatever. So to give you an example of what my schedule looks like, so this month I worked for a few days on, this was the end of my last bid, which ended up being a reserve line that they ended up scheduling me for flights. And then there's like 10 or 11 days, I flew a specific line. One of the things you're going to find about flying cargo, unlike flying your passenger airlines, is cargo really moves at night. All right, you're going to find, you know, FedEx, UPS. Sure, a lot of them are flying during the day, but especially when you're junior and at some of these, I guess you can call them low-cost cargo lines. Sure, we start looking at like your Kalita, your ABX, your ATI, your Sun Country Cargo, your trying to think of some other ones. I can't remember off the top of my head, but your Atlas. A lot of those flights you're going to be flying, you know, at night, and it's mainly just to get, you know, fulfill those overnight those overnight deliveries, to have the plane not sitting on the ground as much. I posted a photo on my Facebook of me, and I said it was on the conga line out of Baltimore. And basically what happens is there was one of the few days that we flew in the middle of the day. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning, and we flew from Baltimore to Cincinnati. And because Baltimore's super busy with Southwest during the day, we sat and wait in line of like 7 to 10 Southwest for like half an hour, 40 minutes. So that's burning fuel, that's delaying the schedule. They don't want that, where we fly typically between the hours of 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. Those hours, airports are typically dead. We can get in and out quickly. We can get very few delays. It's very rare we're gonna get like a flow into a major airport. So like Denver's notorious for having flows where there's just so much traffic coming in that before they'll even let you leave your departure airport, they'll make you wait. You know, I once had to fly into Denver and got a flow where they delayed our flight by like 50 minutes. So we just sat there waiting, delaying the schedule. And so unfortunately, the company wants to show the cargo carrier that we can block out on time. So we had to get everything ready, close the door, and sit on the plane, and then show that basically in our FMC, in our computers, that the plane was loaded and ready to go on time. But then we got called and they were like, expect a delay of 50 minutes for the flow into Denver. So we just sat on the airplane for an additional 50 minutes just waiting before we could start up the engine, so we weren't burning fuel. And it just happens. You can see here's a small example. I don't know if you can see it clearly enough, of one of my flights. We went from Baltimore to Wilmington, Ohio, which is one of the big Amazon hubs there, and then from Wilmington, Ohio to San Francisco. We left at, we left at around 6 p.m. and got to Wilmington at 8 p.m. Then we sat in Wilmington for about 4 or 5 hours, and then we left Wilmington at midnight and got to San Francisco 2 a.m., which was about 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, because all the times here are local time. Then we just went and sat we checked out at about 3 a.m. in the morning local time. We spent, I think we spent about 20 hours sitting in the hotel, and then we flew out that next night back to the East Coast to do several runs. So that's how our typical runs are. It can be a little annoying, I've definitely pondered, what it's like to go back to the passenger side. That also has its ups and downs. We do, again, get to work and often get in and out pretty quickly. So that's a positive. We don't have to go through the same security screening because we're going through the cargo terminal. We're not going through the passenger terminal. So that's another positive right there. We can just get in and out, but the hours can be a little tiring after a few days. They typically try to break it up where you might have like 3 or 4 days of just flying nights, and then maybe they'll throw in a day so that you get like 24 hours of rest to maintain the FAA 24/7, which says that, within 7 days of consecutive work, you have to have 24 hours off. So a lot of times you won't work for 7 days straight. You might work for like 4 or 5 days, and then you'll get a 24-hour stint. Like today was my 24/7. So we flew into Hartford at about 5 p.m. yesterday, and then we don't fly out until 7 p.m. today. So that was our 24 hours of just uninterrupted rest. And it's nice, you get to reset, but then it kind of sucks because, you get back, you start off with a late flight in the evening. So we fly out at 7 p.m., like 6 or 7 p.m. We get to Wilmington, we sit there, and that's just like a 2-hour flight. We sit in Wilmington for about 3 hours, and then we fly to San Francisco again. And flying from the East Coast to the West Coast always takes longer because of the winds. So then it's going to be like about a 4.5 hour, almost 5-hour flight. And that's from midnight until about 5 a.m., which kind of sucks. So that's how my schedule works. If you're working a passenger airline, you're probably going to be doing more day trips. You might be doing more trips. For us, we often will do no more than 2 legs. It's rare when we get more than 2 legs. I've had plenty of flights in which we've done 1 leg. Typically, there's a transcons, so we may fly from, Los Angeles to Cincinnati or Los Angeles to JFK, and then that'll just be it for the day. And then we're off for maybe 20 hours, 18 hours, give or take. But then I have some days where we'll do 2-leggers. So we'll do LAX to Cincinnati, Cincinnati to Baltimore. And that's a long day. Flying wise, it's probably not going to be more than 7-8 hours. But once you include the pre-flights, the sitting while they unload and load the aircraft, and then post-flight, you're probably looking at about a 10-hour, at worst, maybe a 12-hour day that you're working. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're thinking of cargo. But generally, I've had plenty of days in which we've just had a single leg, and it's been really cool. I think my easiest day, we flew from JFK to Chicago. It was like a 2-hour and change flight, and then we were off for 24 hours, So I think my worst day, we did from Seattle to Los Angeles, and then we did we did Seattle, Los Angeles to Cincinnati, and then we did a quick turn from Cincinnati to Atlanta and back to Cincinnati. So that was the longest day I ever did. It was 16 hours. It was literally, right there at 8 hours of flying. And it was just a long, miserable day. So that's how our schedules work. Again, it's different. It's going to be different for your passenger airlines. You're probably going to see your more traditional, working from early in the morning, like your 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. When I was flying passengers, I think our latest day went on to midnight, and we would typically start at like 7 a.m. And even that midnight one, it was split into 2 crews where we would work from like 12 in the afternoon to midnight, but then the next day you were off for 24 hours. So that's how my schedule works. You know, that's how some schedules at other airlines might be a little more forgiving. As you become more senior, you might find a better schedule where maybe you're flying even less. But as a junior guy, that's what you're gonna have to look forward to. Again, keep asking those questions. Thanks for watching my videos. If you guys have any more questions, I'll try to make another video, and see you guys later.